Dallas Ballers Club podcast. My name is Bennett,
I'm David.
I'm Clayton.
and this is episode 2. So just to give you guys, the listeners, a little roadmap of what today's episode is going to look like. Um, we're going to start out by just doing a little recap, and then we're going to go around the horn with each of us with our biggest winner and loser of the night for the Cowboys. And then we're going to wrap up with our biggest hot take from yesterday's game. I know Spanky already kind of tipped his hand a little bit. We'll save that for later, but it should be a good show. And first of all, boys, I wanted to start this out by saying Happy Victory Monday.
Happy Victory Monday.
Feels great to be 1-0.
Oh yeah, and I mean, the first word. Just I'm struggling to find the right words to like how to even think about this, but I mean, just wow.
Yeah. I wrote WTF happened. That's what I wrote.
Yeah.
I can't understand it. We kind of hinted out before we started, but the first drive, we're like, Daniel Jones run all over us. And one of our buddies sent, this can't last forever. They can't sustain this run the whole game. And he was right. Sell them to a field goal, and then y'all know what happened after that.
Yeah. I just can't believe what we watched. I guess first question for you guys: did you guys watch the whole game? Because I watched every second, and I am so glad that it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Course.
I just had to ask because I saw a lot of Cowboys like Twitter people, like not like the the reporters that follow the team super closely, but just like a lot of people kind of like us that are like not casuals but aren't in like the direct loop with the team. Like, oh yeah, I turned the game off, and I was like, how could you want to do that in a week 1 game against a division rival and you're beating the absolute life out of them? Like, how could you turn that game off? It was awesome. So I guess just to get us started here. So overall recap. It was a 40-0 game. It was domination, abysmal on the Giants' part. We have a good buddy of ours who's probably the biggest Giants fan that we know. He's in shambles. Sorry, Luke. And sorry to his older brother Liam as well. But you kind of almost have to ask the question, like, did they prepare at all for that game? Like, it looked like when everyone says like, oh, like Alabama's having a great year or like Georgia's having a great year, like they could beat the worst NFL team, and then they go out and get destroyed. That's what it looked like.
Absolutely. And like people will even say like, oh yes, the blocked field goal for a touchdown helps us a lot. The pick six helps us a lot. We had points on the board without our offense ever seeing the field. That helps a lot. But the thing is, the NFL, those things like that happen all the time. Keep in mind, Cowboys played and won 4 out of 5 games last year without their starting quarterback. Teams have to face adversity every second. That's why it's called a game of inches, And
right.
People will say, oh, we had it laid up for us from the opening whistle. But our next 3 offensive drives was field goal, touchdown. Our offense outscored them. Our offense proved. I had a parlay with CD, and he only needed freaking 13 more yards, but he only had 4 catches. And our quarterback only threw for 143 yards, and we won 40-0. Like, it's a team game. I'm blanking on our special teams coach's name.
John Fassel. Bones.
Like, if you don't think the blocked field goal was planned, if we don't have a plan to how to block field goals, John Wayne Thomas had a game of his life yesterday. He jumped the gap. That was you see it on the
perfectly
film.
Timed everything.
Exactly. Yep. That's practice. That's what teams do. That's what a professional football team does, is they practice every single facet of the game. That was complete domination. I wish we saw a little more of the offense. I have to say,
Yeah.
I'm a little pissed, but you
Yeah.
can't be pissed after 40-0. But
Can't be that mad.
exactly. We'll just roll into our recap practically of week 1. Offense, you can't really talk much about it. Pollard had, like we said last podcast, he had the game that he needed to have. 14 carries, 70 yards, averaged 5 a carry for 2 touchdowns. Dak, 13 for 24, 143, no touchdowns, no interceptions.
A lot of drops.
Just judging
6
off
drops.
just judging off the completion percentage, people are going to be like, oh, like barely completing over 50% of passes. Honestly, Jake Ferguson didn't have a great game. He had a couple bad drops, and people are forgetting it was a
drops.
Yeah, it was a monsoon.
We'll get to him later.
Yeah, it was a monsoon. I mean, stuff like that happens. Rain game week 1. I mean, a couple drops are gonna happen. That being said, CeeDee Lamb was our leading wide receiver with 77 yards. Then Brandon Cooks, then Tony Pollard. Something that really excited me yesterday was how we used Kevontae Turpin too. We lined him up in the backyard and got him touches.
Yeah.
I love that. People say, oh, he's a return game specialist. But people forget he did the USFL League, then right
MVP.
Then right onto the Cowboys. He had 0 offseason last year. And we clearly were just saving him. I mean, we're not going to use an overworked body on the field when we don't need to. And we showed we're going to use him in the offense, and that's going to be super fun to watch. And also just something that's been overlooked is how well our offensive line played last night.
Yeah.
If you don't hear about an offensive lineman, that's normally a good
thing.
Yeah. And I just saw a couple stats today. Tyron Smith completely dominated Thibodeau, dominated him.
Destroyed.
Our offensive line, they have Dexter Lawrence, and we were missing our starting left guard. Did you hear his name? Did he do anything?
He tried to talk a little smack in the beginning of the game, and then after that, you saw him get in the face of Tyron one time, and it's like after that, you didn't even see him on the field.
Yeah. And then when Brandon Cooks got leveled on a 4th down conversion, their safety got up and was like, cheering.
My gosh, that pissed me off.
That was hilarious. That was hilarious.
Got the first down. We're up 20-0. Chill out.
Yeah.
But I would say our offense looked really good. I liked what the McCarthy style offense looked like. We put Dak in comfortable situations. We 3rd and long, quarter's about to end. Kellen Moore's going to drop some BS play that will rarely work, that's overly aggressive. We're going to play right into the defense's hand. What does Mike do? He runs the ball. We trust our defense. We trust DQ, we ran the damn ball. That was that was at least middle of the pack defense that we would play this year. I mean, at least front 7-wise, starting off the bat. And Tony Pollard averaged 5 yards a carry. Dowdle averaged 4 yards a carry. And Turpin averaged 4.7 yards a carry. And we had 3 rushing touchdowns. I mean, just complete domination while missing arguably one of our better guys, obviously behind Martin. Him and Steele are probably similar, I would say. Tyron's up there, so he's probably the middle back guy, but he's still starting left guard.
Right.
So, I mean,
and he's so strong too. You miss that presence.
Yeah, he's our bull.
Yeah, dominant. And some people are going to talk about, Dak barely had to do anything. This was a Jalen Hurts stat sheet from last year.
I saw that tweet, yeah.
Jalen Hurts stat sheet from last year.
That's what Jalen Hurts did yesterday.
Yeah, I mean.
And he had a fumble.
Yeah. NFC East quarterback had a turnover besides 4. So I guess I'll flip it over to you guys, but that's just overall my recap of the offense this game. Unfortunately, not much to talk about because everything's perfect, but
so since you talked a lot about the offense, I'm gonna go to the defensive side. Our safety room, we talked about earlier. Safety room is just unbelievable. I mean, we probably have now, I think, 7 guys that could play that are depth-wise that could play. I mean, with Bell and Thomas out there. Yeah, we'd have Wilson.
And
that's
Izzy barely
it's
played.
insane. Exactly.
And Hook had illness. He was questionable to
Yeah,
play.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And then obviously Micah's Micah off the rip, he making a difference. I mean,
So good. So good.
I was listening to a segment this morning on ESPN. And I think it was Ryan Clark was talking about it, and he was talking about, or maybe it was Rex Ryan. I can't remember which one. They were talking about it, and he was talking about how he wants to not only have a gold jacket, but be the best defensive player of all time. They were literally talking about him being like Lawrence Taylor, which I know Giants fans are not going to like, but I absolutely love that. A year and a half in, or 2.5 years in, whatever it is, he looks like, stays healthy, knock on wood, stays healthy. He could potentially be like that. And then you can't, like, Damone Clark, LVE, they played fine. Nothing crazy. Not a complaint there. There aren't any really complaints you can have at all. And I think Bennett, you said it yesterday, Curse wearing number 1 is super weird.
Thought it was Kelvin Joseph the entire first drive. I was like, wow.
So weird
I was like, Kelvin Joseph looks big. Wow.
Yeah. I had the same exact thought.
And then the last thing I have is just how fast we are.
So fast.
They just attack that football, man. Whoever has it, they're going to go and kill them. And I love it. Probably the fastest defense I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's the speed is insane. This is, we've already talked about, and in the last couple of years, it's progressed about how we're like, oh, this is the best defense we've ever seen, or give Romo this defense. You give Romo this defense in 2014, the Dez year, we don't lose a game. We don't lose a game. Like, dude, oh my God.
DeMarco Murray and that O-line, get out of here.
Yeah. So I saw this tweet. RJ Ochoa tweeted it out. This was the Giants possession chart, or possessions and their outcomes for each drive that they had yesterday. Blocked field goal, punt, interception, missed field goal, halftime, punt, turnover on downs, fumble, turnover on downs, end of game. Like that, dude, that is so, it's so ridiculous to read that. But that even that tweet, like, that shows you the dominance, but it doesn't show you the real dominance. Dude, it was every single time Daniel Jones dropped back. Like, I was feeling bad for him in the fourth quarter, like, especially when it was, it's 33 rip. We've already pulled, or, we're getting ready to pull Dak, and right before they took him out, and I heard Tirico and Collinsworth were talking about it, and they're like, why is Daniel Jones still in this game? And I was watching it, with my roommate, and I was like, I said the same thing right before the set. I was like, why is Daniel Jones still in this game? Like, he
soaked, like, he looked beat up. He had the turf all over his face the whole time.
Like, it was just brutal. Like, I almost felt bad for him. I was like, wow. It was just insane. Micah had a sack. Odigizua had 2. D-Law had 1, so that's 4. Armstrong had 2, so that's 6. And then who had Golson had 1. So it was like, dude, like, everyone was eating. Mozzie had a TFL, which was cool to see.
Fowler looked good.
Yeah, Fowler was getting a ton of pressure.
Dexter Fowler Jr. is the backup DN.
Dante.
Sorry, Dante. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Baseball. Yeah, Dante, he that's a backup DN. That's a starting DN on 25 other teams.
Yeah. The other thing that was my big takeaway, I guess, on offense was one, we haven't seen nearly anything yet from what McCarthy has in his bag of tricks. But based out of what we saw, I'm very, very excited. Turpin out of the backfield, we were pounding the table all last year being like, he's the fastest and most electric player on our team. Why is Kellen Moore not getting him touches? And we knew, watching him go off in preseason, that we were like, oh, this is awesome. I can't wait to not use him in the regular season. Like, wow. Like, we just knew. And it was yesterday, like, his first carry when he was in the backfield, I literally looked at him and I was like, oh, like, Deuce looks a little different. And then he gets the carry and I see him running up. It's number 9. I was like, oh my God, we just give Turpin a carry. Like, this is sick. And Dak looked a little rusty. I'm not going to put it all on him. He did what he had to do. He didn't have to be great at all, but he didn't play a bad game. I do feel bad for you, Spank. You mentioned earlier your parlay, you needed 13 yards. That one throw he missed on the touchdown, that seam route to CD that he always hits,
That was
just
gonna cash.
slightly overthrown. I was like when I heard you say that, I was like, dang, like if he had hit that. But this was the other thing. Another tweet by RJ Ochoa, and it was something that I was thinking about yesterday. Dak looked really comfortable, even though it was a wet ball. You know, the O line played great. I mean, he had all day to throw back there, but just the target distribution to me was what stood out. There was no force feeding. It was no, just force feed guys. So Jake Ferguson, 7 targets. CeeDee Lamb, 4 targets. Brandon Cooks, 4 targets. Tony Pollard, 3. Fonte Turpin, 3. Michael Gallup, 2. Jalen Tolbert, 1. And Peyton Hendershot, 1. Granted, the Tolbert one was Cooper Rush, but still, like that target distribution, like he wasn't sitting there trying to force balls into tight windows. Like we know he can do it, but that's, a lot of times what we saw last year where, he could kind of get into that territory where he's, making dangerous throws that, have a way higher probability of being picked off. There was no throws yesterday where I was like, oh, Dak, like, oh God, like that was a gift that wasn't picked off. Like he was sitting back, he was just finding open guys, which I love. So I'm very excited for the McCarthy offense just going forward. I can't wait to see what else he has in store.
Absolutely. I think it's no knock on any quarterback, so I don't want people thinking it's a knock on Dak, but putting your quarterback in a position to succeed and not a risky throw and playing into the defensive player's hand is what Kellen Moore used to do to Dak all the time with these elaborate play concepts. And really, we were just running plays. We had no scheme of our team. And McCarthy said it that we're going to run like a West Coast offense. He's calling it a Texas Coast
Texas
offense.
Coast. Yep.
And I'm just really excited to see it because we're conservative when we need to be conservative. We're aggressive when we want to be aggressive. But the overarching fact is we're going to play how we play. And we're not going to change for other teams. And I think Kellen Moore did a little more of that, where we would change our offense, where we really didn't have an identity. And I mean, from the opening pass to CeeDee Lamb was a perfectly executed wheel by CeeDee and a pick route by Jake Ferguson. Dory Jackson was washed. He was washed on that play.
Stonewall.
Completely. And, sure, teams run that play all the damn time, and that's never a flag. That's inside the first 5 yards. Ferg wasn't looking for it. I don't care. But just to be able to see that our offense actually has an identity is so just awesome. Like, we haven't seen that in so long. We just kept running plays last year. Give it to Zeke. I guess our identity was a first down run up the middle with Zeke. If you want to call that an identity. But, I'll just move on to kind of my the good, the bad, the ugly from the offense, and I guess we'll do the same on defense. I think the good was just having our identity back up the Dallas Cowboys. I'm sick and tired of hearing all this stuff coming out of San Francisco where they have all this talent on offense. The most physical offense, such a great offensive line. We have that, and we have that damn identity as well. I mean, Tyron Smith, Tyler Smith, Biotish, Zach Martin, Terrence Steele. I'm taking those 5 over anyone on over San Francisco's starting 5 as well. I don't care that they have Trent Williams.
I was gonna say maybe Trent Williams. I mean,
I'm saying unit for unit. Which one would I rather?
Fair.
I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys, even if they have Trent Williams. And so I'm just going to chalk up the good being just having our identity back. I would say the bad were, like you said, kind of the rusty throw by Dak to CeeDee, where he hits that 9 out of 10 times. And I'm not sure if that was rust. I'm not sure if that was a wet ball. I don't know what was happening. Maybe some miscommunication. We kind of saw that with CeeDee last year to open the games up, like Green Bay, like running wrong routes, not really being on the same page. Who knows what it was? But I'll say kind of like the first game rust. And you know what? if we had rust in our first game and we still won 40-0, I will take that. I guess just to nitpick a little bit, I guess the ugly part would definitely just kind of be the drops, and would kind of, it's not really that ugly of a performance, but I expected more out of Jake Ferguson. And like you said, Bert, 7 targets. I think he had 3 drops.
2 catches, 14 yards.
There's no doubt he's going to be used in this offense. Dak loves him. Dak talks about him all preseason. Dak talks about him all offseason. I mean, we saw him working out with Dak. But, you know, it's a step up having the pressure on you now. So we'll see if he's up for it. I think he's up for it. I know he's up for it. But
I think,
first game jitters, wet ball, who knows. But if we were to pick an ugly on offense, I would do Jake Ferguson.
I agree. That was my overall, and a night that was filled with so many positives and so many great things. Ferg stood out as my no doubt loser. But it's not anything that's concerning to me. I mean, I have full confidence in him going forward. I mean, he'll be fine. Henny also had a drop.
It was a perfect ball.
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
didn't love to see that either. So I guess just overall loser, I would say the tight end room. But again, that's not like, it would be different if we lost the game and the drops that they had was like a difference. But in a 40-0 ball game, like we're splitting hairs here. Like, wet ball, rust, chalk it up however you want it. It's not something that I'm concerned about going forward. I think they'll be fine. Jake Ferguson, also Riz God, dating a Cavender twin. So that just
tight end one, man. That's my tight end.
Yeah, so I'm we were already in on Ferg, but this is a Jake plus whatever Cavender twin it is Stan podcast. We do support that. So that's awesome for him. So
Dak's new girl too.
And
yep.
Dak has a beautiful new girlfriend. Yep. So that's exciting. This is the Cowboys podcast, right? I mean, when we dive into all the aspects here,
everything.
Tony Pollard had a kid last year, so that's big. Dad strength. And then I guess my overall winner on offense, or just I guess the game in general, and I'll talk more about this later. But this is kind of a preview of my hot take. We had the best secondary in the NFL. That's my hot take, and I don't even know if it's that hot, just based off what we saw yesterday. There's this tweet that I saw about Deron Bland that I wanted to read for y'all. It says, "Don't look now." This is from Marcus Mosher, by the way. Don't look now, but Cowboys cornerback Deron Bland has 5 interceptions in his last 7 regular season games. Pretty awesome. I mean, we said all last year that Bland was an absolute dog, and the fact that he's our cornerback 3 is absurd. I mean, just the fact that everyone in our secondary contributed yesterday. I mean, the fact that CJ Goodwin took cornerback snaps in actual regular season NFL game is insane. I mean, obviously that's because we were, destroying, but Bell was incredible. Led our team in tackles last night. Wanye Thomas, awesome. I mean, set the tone from the jump. I mean, the blocked field goal, couple pass breakups, he was awesome. Hooker, Curse, they're going to do their thing. No Dono last night. Izzy had a fumble recovery on the Diggs punch out late in the game. Bland had the pick, and I'm also really excited about this. My guy to watch last week on defense was Stephon Gilmore, got his first pick with the Cowboys. That was awesome to see. And he looked awesome. I mean, we talked about it last week. Like, you're lining up Isaiah Hodgins and whoever the hell else they have at receiver against Trayvon Diggs and Stephon Gilmore and Deron Bland. Like, dude, like, it was exactly as we predicted. Like, it was it was absurd. Like just, but Gilmore looked great. Secondary looked great. Best secondary in the NFL. And then Stu, I'll throw the ball to you.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to go off of y'all two off after that game because I mean, there's really not really a loser, but my loser was going to be Ferguson, and I was also going to add Hendershot in there, but just because all it was the drops, man. I mean, that like Spanky said earlier, that pick route for CD, that was a great route by Ferg, where it was clearly not a pick whatsoever. It even looked like it live. It was like, oh, he just got caught up. It was perfectly played by Ferg. But yeah, but I lost losers the tight end room, just Hendershot and Ferguson. But I'm not worried about it whatsoever. You can't be worried about it. If it keeps happening week 2, week 3, week 4, then it's like okay. But week 1, I mean, it was raining hard. You could see Daniel Jones' jersey. The thing looked
Soaked.
black. It was so dark. And it was raining. It was hard. It's hard to catch a wet ball. So that's my loser, but that's just nitpicking, you know. And then the winners, I'm gonna say safeties as well. DBs and corners. The DB room is just insane. I'm gonna go with the D line. You have 7 sacks. The start of season, and you're also starting the season against a rival like the Giants, and you set the tone like that. It shows that our D line is the best D line in the NFL. We're for real, and we're coming for heads this year. And that's I mean, it's just so hard to pick a loser and a winner this week. So those are mine. You'd be a little nitpicky, but our D line just looks so good. Looks so good. We're going to be really good this year, and I can't wait to watch next week.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Just to go more into depth about the defense, we talked about the safety room and the safety play of John Way. We've talked about Curse. We talked about the corners. But you know who I'm going to talk about right now was our team leader in tackles yesterday, and that's number 14, Marquise Bell.
Thought it was Jabril Cox.
Yeah, I was very high on him coming. Florida A&M is where he came out of. He was supposed to be. This was last year's draft when there was an influx of talent and players that even undrafted guys had 5th, 6th, 7th round grades. Coming from a small school, even if you look at his college tape, he's a dog. And, you know, we were all scared, even in our roster 53-man predictions. Like, man, we don't really have behind Clark and behind Leighton Vander Esch, who's going to be that guy, you know? We thought it would be that guy out of Texas Tech. I'm blanking on his name, Harper. We thought it would be him.
Oklahoma State.
We used, I knew it was Big 12. We used Marquise Bell as he was playing Mike. Like, he was playing linebacker, man. And he was laying the boom. So I think just saying the Young Bucks stepped up in the secondary. I mean, Donovan Wilson was out. Hooker he had the flu game. He posted the MJ flu game picture. Like, just like, we're going to bang the table and start the narrative. We have the best secondary in the NFL. Tired of hearing Eagles are even remotely close with James Bunbury and fucking big asshole Slay. I don't want to hear anything about those guys, you know? Like, Diggs and Gilmore, Bland, Jordan Lewis is our 4th cornerback. Mm-hmm. The guy that we just sold an absolute thug for returned the opening, got us the first touchdown. You know? Like, I even said, and this tweet was deleted by Des Bryant, but I just want to bring some light onto this because not many people, probably anyone, got a picture of it. But he tweeted this: "Take notes, Jason Garrett. Mike McCarthy treat his players like grown men. I would have hated if you had the opportunity to coach a player like Micah Parson or Trayvon Diggs. This football, fuck a good guy. Where the dog's at. McCarthy got him." And you know what? I want to take a little bit of time and talk about this.
Yeah.
Because Jason Garrett made people go into a system, and for better or worse, I would say his tenure was overall unsuccessful. And there were a lot of big personalities, but he didn't know how to coach them. Mike McCarthy gets a lot of unnecessary flack, probably because he's fat. Probably. Honestly, like if you really
that has to be it. Yeah.
The PMT guys were talking about it.
If he was built like Sean McVay, he doesn't get talked about like that.
Exactly. You know, like if he didn't look like he had 5 Big Macs. But the thing is, this is the first time in our lives, and I'm talking about the McCarthy era, where our players are free to be themselves. They're free to express themselves besides Des Bryant, because you can't contain that person. Clearly, can't even either. His agent must have texted him to delete that tweet, and I quickly got a screenshot of that. But like Jaron Curse, Diggs talking shit, Micah doing all his extracurricular stuff. We have CD talking smack, our O-line talking smack, our D-line playing to the whistle every single damn play. We talk about the players during the Jason Garrett era, obviously different players, but DeMarcus Ware and Sean Lee, and why Cowboys fans bang the table and maybe sometimes overrate them compared to the league is because they were too much of nice guys. And we don't have nice guys anymore, man. We don't. Mm-hmm. Our defense, we said it, you guys said it at the start. Why would they leave Daniel Jones in? You know what? We made him fucking pay, you know? Like, as much as it is, oh, I feel bad for him, I don't. Are you kidding me? We had to sit around and watch Eli Manning win 2 Super Bowls, you know? We sat around and watched our entire team get their ass kicked by the San Francisco 49ers when the last play of Ezekiel Elliott's career is him getting pancaked at center, you know? And so if our guys weren't fired up to hit someone in a different colored jersey, something would be wrong. And Mike McCarthy certainly knows how much leash to give his players, because I would say, yes, we are very aggressive, but we don't really take those dumb penalties, you know? Like sometimes we do, some like more
like the one on
first
the first drive
last night.
Yeah. Like sometimes we do. But like that was a late slide on Danny Dimes, and Curse tried pulling up. Like that's just
and wet field. It's hard. Yeah,
exactly. But like Sam Williams, I remember when he suplexed the Lions running back. Like we don't see, like we see hemped up, but also leashed aggression by these players, and they are able to express themselves. I saw. People really underrate Jaron Curse's role on this team, but he's clearly the reason why our defensive back room plays the way they do. He had a pregame speech that made me want to run through a brick wall. And I'm sitting here just in my bed, 5'10", 180 pounds, being like, I can probably sack Danny Dimes right now. You know? Like, it's the little things that we have done that we didn't have done previous. We have leaders, we have dogs, and you know what? For better or worse, sure, it could bite us in the butt eventually. But if we're flying to the ball, and sometimes we'll get a late hit, or sometimes when the quarterback slides, sometimes we'll tap them a little bit. Fuck it, you know. I don't want McCarthy pulling back the reins at all. These guys are flying. They don't care if there's 2 minutes to go and they're already up 40 points. Chauncey wants to eat. Fowler wants to eat. John Wayne Thomas wants to eat. Bland wants to eat. Diggs got burnt on a slant route. What did he do? Stripped. You know? Like, these guys are finding ways to win. Even if they lose the bigger picture, they find a way to win the smaller picture. And that's what divides this, really, because it's a game of inches, boys. And not every week, unfortunately, is going to be like this. So being able to count your blessings and win the small battles and win what's in your control is definitely great. And overall, like, this is a contract year for McCarthy. Dan Quinn got brought back for a reason. Maybe that lit a fire under his ass, you know? DQ had head coaching jobs. Yeah. He stuck around. Something special's here. And everyone else is going to try to convince us there isn't. But, man, if I'm Aaron Rodgers right now, I'm fucking scared.
Definitely. And the whole thing that leading up to the week, I mean, always first game of the year, also then playing the Giants. And all you hear the whole week is they're in New York. The Giants upgraded. They got Waller.
Darren Waller's Travis Kelce. Blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah.
they got all hyped about getting Darren Waller to make a huge difference. Like, who's going
We
to
have
guard him?
Jalen
It's a
Hyatt.
mismatch. It's going to make a huge mismatch. Whoever's guarding Waller, and like talking about Hyatt and then Slayton or whoever's out Hodge, whoever. I don't give a fuck.
Saquon's going to run. Even
Sterling Shepard's still running across behind Daniel Jones. Like, that didn't make a shit of difference, man. Who gives a fuck about those guys? Especially Waller, who I like Waller. He's a good player. His history, cool, whatever. You're not gonna make a difference, especially not against our defense. You can't make a difference. 3 catches with 37 yards. He got me 6 points on my fantasy team. Fuck you, dude. You're not gonna make a load of shit. That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, not too much else to harp on. I mean, you guys hit the nail on the head, Spanky especially. I mean, just, I mean, we said it last year. Granted, it might have been like a little bit more in jest. I mean, especially like when we drafted Kelvin Joseph, we were like, oh my god, like this guy raps like
we have dogs,
criminal record, like dude, like this is the
Yeah.
kind of dog that we've been needing. But no, dude, like these guys are just dogs on the field. Like, I mean, you already talked at length about Marquise Bell. I mean, awesome game out of him. If anything, I mean, the other thing that I guess just came to me now is that in our lives, when have we ever seen not only a secondary, but specifically a safety room as deep as this for the Cowboys? Never.
Never.
Like, not even close. Like, all the
We grew up
years
with
of
Barry Church and J.J. Wilcox.
and Gerald Sensabaugh.
Yeah,
Like,
that was our
literally,
safety.
like that.
Bring in
like
a proven
those were our
vet
safeties.
that won't mess up. Yeah, that was our room.
And it's like now it's like, I mean, we signed Hooker, we signed Curse, we drafted Wilson, we signed Bell, we signed Wilson, yeah. Signed Bell, signed Thomas, drafted Izzy. Like, it's insane. And like the fact that out of our defense we have, especially in our safety room, we have 7 guys that, like, you pick any 2 names out of that hat and say, hey, these 2 are starting this week. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, that's like, it's insane just how deep our defense is. And the fact that we can bring guys down from the safety room to fill that gap that we have at linebacker. Like, you already mentioned it, Spank, but Marquise Bell, like, you know, being in the box, playing a lot of linebacker last night, leads the team in tackles. We know Curse can do it. We know Wilson can do it. You know, Izzy can play in the slot. We can play him deep. We can play him in the box. Like, we're just so versatile, and it's such a great problem to have when it's an embarrassment of riches, which is something that we've never had the luxury of. And I'm just really excited to see how the rest of the season goes. Like, I mean, the fact that once Wilson comes back, like, we're gonna have to make some tough decisions in terms of who's getting snaps. And I mean, the guys that are probably on that bubble of getting less snaps, like Bell and like Wanye Thomas, they more than proved yesterday that, hey, we need more snaps. Like, we're in this too. And I mean, I'll be damned if I'm going to be the one that's going to tell them, hey, you're getting less snaps tonight, or you're not out there right now. Like, I mean, it's a really, really good problem to have. So
absolutely.
I mean, I'm just,
and you mentioned it before, but let's just take a second and think about our secondary, and just start clapping for Will McClay, because the highest drafted person in our secondary, I could be wrong, that Noah Iguodabada, who we just traded for. I'm not even going to pronounce his name.
Ogene.
Yeah. Malik Hooker. Those were first-round draft picks.
Yeah.
Diggs second. Jordan Lewis third. Bland was a fifth. Wilson was a sixth. Bell was UDFA. Same with John Wayne Thomas.
Gilmore was the first.
Gilmore was a first. That was, 2012? Like,
yeah, a while ago.
But, we traded. Okay, Gilmore was a first. We traded for him for a fifth or a fourth.
Yeah.
Like,
robbery.
We are. It might just be, man. Like, we have the perfect mix of Gilmore being a vet in the cornerback room, Curse, Wilson, Hooker being the vets in the safety room. And like you said, Burke, it's just like, why would you turn this game off? Why would you stop watching in the fourth? I want to see what our young guys can do. And they fucking proved that it's going to be hard. Like, when Wilson gets back, whose snaps are you cutting?
Exactly.
Like, we might be running into a situation where we have too much talent. Like, we might have to cut, like, I don't even know. Like, let's say we're buyers at the deadline. Where do we, maybe O-line depth, but like, I'm not touching this defense. And to have Van Der Esch and Clark have meh games and not have it impact the scoreline, I would say the only bad part of our defense last night was that first drive. And I just want to reflect on this because teams are going to see that. Sometimes we are a little too overly aggressive and try to sack the quarterback, that we leave these running lanes open. Inversely to that, we need Hankins or Mozzie on the field, and they need to show what they can do in the run game. Because when we bring Marquise Bell in the box, I love him and he played well. Chances are he's not going to fare well against a pulling guard or be able to shed a guard. I don't know. I'm just sitting here talking safety converted to linebacker. Who knows? But sometimes our aggressiveness can bite us in the ass. But I said it before and I'll say it again. Who cares? We sacked them 7 times. If they want to, if a team, we match up against the Baltimore Ravens, it might impact us a little bit, like Lamar could hurt us. But even we have Philly twice a year. If they want to run Jalen Hurts 25 times, and
please do it.
Fine by me, man. Like, you're not going to beat us running your quarterback 25 times, eating the clock. Because the more our defense is on the field, the more I'm happy, honestly. And that's so weird to say in the game of football, but this is a doomsday defense, man. This is the doomsday defense we've always heard about and always wanted to experience. We thought we had it with DeMarcus Lawrence, Sean Lee, and Randy Gregory, and a glimpse of David Irving. We thought, but what could have been with David Irving, man? But anyways, we're just dogs. But the one thing that did have us concerned was the pass rush lanes opening up because our defensive ends came too far up. But I even saw it when Mozzie was on the field. He was pushing the pocket, and that would be something that's overlooked because it won't be put in a stat or anything. But 2 of the sacks, just watch Mozzie Smith. He takes on the double team. So Fowler and Armstrong are one-on-one. They're trying to chip a running back. Doesn't work. Like, we brought him in for a reason. And if our first round, when was the last time our first round pick wasn't a starter? Like, when was the last?
Yeah.
Because Mozzie Smith is our first round pick, not a starter. I can't. Barring injury or suspension, when was the last time our first round pick wasn't a starter? I couldn't tell you.
Maybe Felix Jones, because I guess it was him and Barber. And that's so long
way
ago.
down there. Yeah.
I'm
going all the way back. I don't mean to bring this guy up, but I'm going all the way back to Claiborne and now, even though Claiborne was the biggest bust. Yeah, he started. So you have to look before Claiborne. That's what 2014?
Which is just
2015.
No, Claiborne was 12 or 13 because Martin was 14. Yeah.
So then it's before then.
It's just nuts.
That's insane.
Nuts. We don't have.
So Spanky, you were talking about the running quarterbacks, and I'm totally with you because Daniel Jones. I mean, for how much you give him shit, he ran for 700 plus yards last year, top 5 in the NFL as quarterback. And I pulled up our schedule, and looking at who we face the next 16 games. We face A-Rod next week, which, he can run him a little bit. He's not going to. He's not going to get out of the pocket and scramble. And after that, Philly, week 9. Daniel Jones again, week 10. I wouldn't count Bryce on. If he gets in the pocket, he's going to die. Geno Smith, no. Philly again, and Josh Allen. And you play Sam Howell twice. We don't face many running quarterbacks this year, which I don't count Brock Purdy as one. Definitely not Mac Jones. Joshua Dobbs. Don't really give a fuck about him, but whatever. But like we face Jalen Hurts twice, Josh Allen, and Daniel Jones twice. I wouldn't count two. So I would say 5 games to schedule we have. We're facing running quarterback, and I agree with you 100%. Running quarterbacks scare me when you face them. They do. I mean, you saw it in the first drive. You saw a little bit. Daniel Jones isn't as good as a Jalen Hurts or obviously a Josh Allen, but running quarterbacks do scare me. But look at the schedule; it looks very promising for keeping those quarterbacks in the pocket, and we're going to destroy all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird to think that, like, I just trust this defense, man. We used to be just our saying on defense for our entire lives. Keep in mind,
don't
viewers,
break.
we're all 22, 23. Ben, don't break. That was our like. If we hold them to a field goal, that's a win. Like this defense is so insane to have, and you know, people are still going to be 50-50, maybe 60-40, having the Niners have a better defense than us. But, you know, let them. Like, I'm not here to say I don't want our players to think we're the number 1 defense until it's February 10th and we're lifting the Lombardi trophy. Like, then they could look at stats. But, like, I want them. We're playing with a chip on our shoulder, and we said it. Like, if they weren't pissed off after how our season ended last year and seeing Stephen A. Smith, Bayless, LaShawn McCoy, you name them, our name has been in their mouth to sell headlines for 254 days of the offseason. These are NFL players, but they're also people. They see this shit too. They have Twitters. They have social media. If it's coming up on your For You page, oh, I wonder if it's going to come up on the person they're referring to, you know? And to have a sideline reporter pregame, I just want to harp on this briefly. Ask Dak about the interception questions.
It's ridiculous. Bad journalism.
It's just I'm scared to play the Dallas Cowboys, man. And I love the fact that we're not playing a mobile quarterback. And when we are playing a mobile quarterback like Josh Allen, I hope to God he can run fast, boy, because that offensive line isn't holding up to the Cowboys. We said it last episode, leave Evan Neal on an island. Talk about a bust no one talks about. Evan Neal. Evan Neal is a bum. He's a bum. Dorrance Armstrong and Chauncey Golston were feeding into him. Like, come on. You're not a rookie anymore. You're not a rookie anymore. But like, if Brock Purdy wants to run the ball, sure. Like, whatever. Aaron Rodgers, though, quarterback like Rodgers is going to be interesting because he's going to get the ball out fast. And so I think that might play into our – that's going to play into our – not might. It will play into our defense's hands more because we're just going to fly. Behind our D-line, we're going to fly around. And that's going to be interesting. I can't wait to watch – what? We got 10 minutes before the game starts? I can't wait. I'm watching this Jets O-line, man, like a hawk. Because I know
we're going to talk about we're going to talk about it this week too. Talk about the Jets, obviously, a couple days. But I'm excited to see. I mean, that Trayvon Diggs Garrett Wilson matchup. That's gonna be exciting football, man. It's gonna be exciting football.
Who's their wide receiver too?
Lazard.
More. Yeah, it has to be Alan Lazard.
Like
Randall Cobb.
Yeah, like barring
Cowboy legend.
Barring Garrett Wilson. Who's their offense? Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall.
I'm not scared of Breece Hall. Yeah, I'm not scared of either of those guys at all.
I'm not scared of Hall because of his knee, and that shit's gonna linger. Like, he's not gonna trust it fully. He's not gonna be full speed. Dalvin Cook, whatever, might have a touchdown, might not. But like, outside of their tight end doesn't scare me. We've heard it all off season. Just a little preview for next week episodes, folks, or next episode. But you know, I think we match up very, very well against the Jets. Yes, they have Aaron Rodgers, and yes, we are cursed. Man, we were cursed against Brady, and see what happened in the playoffs last year. So some curses are die.
Yeah. And so we'll talk more about the Jets next episode. Just real quick, Before we wrap up here, I alluded to it earlier, but I want each of us to give our week one. It can be as dramatic as you want. It can be an overreaction. Just let's just put it out there. Start pushing the narrative. Hot takes. I already started, or I'll start with mine. I already alluded to it. Best secondary in the NFL. I'm going to be pushing the narrative hard until I'm proven otherwise. And God forbid that we do something insane against Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, narrative's getting pushed. That's about all I got to say about that. I already talked about it earlier, but I'll just throw it to you guys. Hot takes.
Yeah, I guess I'll just one up Bennett and say we have the best defense in the NFL, top to bottom, ceiling to floor. We showed it. Our backups can eat too. I think our defense is better at offense than some of these offenses, and that's scary.
I mean, Arizona.
Yeah.
That's week
almost
3.
beat Washington though. Almost beat
Yeah.
Washington.
I'd rather have
That shocks me.
I mean, the Cardinals outscored the Bengals and the Giants combined. So,
fair point. So mine's kind of the same way as y'all. I alluded to it earlier as well. And it's not really a stat that backs it up, but I want people to start talking about how we're the fastest defense of all time. How we just run the ball, and I mean, I think everybody's besides, I guess, LVE. I mean, he's probably runs about a 49, 49, 48, whatever he ran his pro day. But everyone besides him just runs. He does too, obviously, but they just look like they're flying to that football, and it's so impressive. I mean, even watching Mozzie Smith go sideline to sideline, he can go to get that ball if he wants to. After he takes on that double team, they run it to the left side. You can't run east and west on this football team. You can't do it. All of a sudden, Micah Parsons is on the opposite side, and he needs to be the one tackling you for a 2-yard gain. That's what's going to happen. It happens all the time. It happened yesterday. I want people to start talking about, because I heard it this morning. It's something let me think of it. Is Ryan Clark was talking about how he said this defense is ridiculously fast, and I was like, you know what? I've never seen a defense this fast before in my life, especially from a Cowboys perspective, obviously. But looking around the NFL, I've never seen it before. This team just runs to the football and is damn impressive.
I love it. So we got 3 sizzling hot takes. Don't even know how hot they are. I mean, genuinely, yeah. I mean, this might sound a little biased. I mean, obviously, we're a Cowboys podcast, but don't even know that they're that sizzling, especially just going off what we saw yesterday. It's kind of hard to argue against that right now. So that pretty much wraps up.
I'll do another hot take. I'll do one more hot take.
Okay.
Micah Parsons will have a shot at winning MVP this season.
Wow.
I love it.
Someone find his odds on that. Wow.
Not just Depoy. I want to see MVP odds for him.
I love it. I don't know if it's a hot take, but I really see him getting upwards of 20. I really do. I really think he gets 20 or more.
I think him and TJ will go for the record together.
That would be awesome. Yeah. TJ had what, 3 yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's 3. Keep in mind, 3 on the Niners. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
3 sacks against the Niners. I don't know.
Also, get the rest of your team also sucks. So.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett's ass.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah, that pretty much wraps up episode 2. We'll be back later this week to preview our week 2 game against the team that we're about to watch here on Monday Night Football, the New York Jets, and our cursed devil himself, Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, we will catch you guys later this week, so be on the lookout. And if anyone wants to sponsor us, we are open. So hit the DMs. Social media accounts will be active very soon. We're open to sponsorships, and we'll see you guys later this week.